My journey with spoons started about 10 years ago. For me, it's simply trying to give new meaning to materials. My name is Abinoro Akorode Collins, but I think for brand's sake, I identify on my social media platforms as Art Collins. My journey with spoons started about 10 years ago, around 2012, while I was still in art school. We practically engaged in a course where we were to research on non-conventional mediums in sculpture practice. And in the course of that, we engaged in recycled materials, and in the process, we usually would pick up junk materials and try to study them to see what we can create out of these materials. And we would spread them on the ground and literally try to look at them and see what we can come up with. In the course of that, I kind of noticed that the handles of cutleries, when you take out the scoop parts, are actually like feathers. So when that struck me, I picked up the few that I had with me and started putting them together, and actually came up with my first piece of a bird at that time. That was 2012. But that was a step. But over the years, I've had to continually find ways to evolve and do more research and expand on what more I can do beyond just where I started from. And we're here right now. Yeah. Well, first, when I made that first piece and I took a look at it, I saw lots of possibilities, and thought within myself that if I can do this, there's so much more I'm sure I can do if I spend more time with it. Then secondly, because we're engaging in recycled materials, I've always thought about why allow materials to go into waste first before trying to recycle them. Because when we let most of these materials go into waste, they end up creating more hazards to the society, to the environment we live in, and then we're struggling with trying to solve the problems that we created, and that brought me into actually now describing my work as more as repurposed sculptures instead of either upcycling or recycled materials. With repurpose, for me, it's simply trying to give new meaning to materials. Instead of first letting them, if I would describe, letting them die first. So I simply find ways to give new meaning to every materials around me. With cutleries, when we find multiple purpose for every other things we create as humans, we realize that we'll have less waste. But because most materials that we manufacture are purpose built, that is, they are built to serve one particular purpose, and after that we just trash them. So instead of letting that happen, why not create multiple purpose for everything we create? And in the course of that, we realize we have less waste, safer environment for everybody. When I started, I would collect, from junkyards, and a few family friends would donate some, But over the years, the sizes of my works have increased from just basic tabletops to doing monumentals, And some of these pieces actually would take way over 8,000 pieces on a single idea. So we'll take about 5,000 and 6,000. So the idea of literally picking them is unrealistic. So I literally buy from some of the biggest cutlery suppliers in Lagos. But I think the challenge we have is still boils down to our value system, the things we prioritize over others, the structure we build, and you won't completely blame it on society. It still has to do with system. The system that teaches us to hate our history and hate our culture and hate our religion really cannot appreciate art, because art is a part of a people's identity. It's a part of our life, a part of our culture and our religion. So as long as we're taught to hate all of these things that make us Nigerians, the level of appreciation will really not grow. So the first thing first is to teach people to embrace our culture, embrace our religion, embrace our belief, our African belief system, because this is where value comes from. As regards to parents encouraging, I think the average artist would have story of parents never really supporting at a certain point. And you, as an adult now, you really can't blame it on the parents. I think every parent wants security, financial security for their children when they grow up. They want to be sure that this decision is enough to secure your future. So I had my own share of that experience as well. Art wasn't really, doesn't have really strong prospects. There were very few artists you can name that were successful at that time, at that generation. But we're having a generational shift, where people, the least things, are things that are making people to achieve great things these days. Who would imagine that people can play football and become so wealthy? People can sing and gain so much fame and wealth. And it's same with art, And when you mention Sussex, I know the biggest artists in Nigeria, and I can tell you they are envy of the society if you really know them. Every of my work has its own unique challenges, comes because I approach every piece as a new project, no matter how, even the tiniest pieces are given so much attention that you wonder, well, this thing is small, but the fact that it's small is the reason why I want to do something different, something unique about it, pay attention to the least details that someone else might take for granted, so every piece has its own unique challenge. I think every of my pieces are full of lots of challenges. Known for spoon art because everybody needs to have an identity, and with how I started career, that was like my spot to, sense of identity. But then if you're familiar with my works and you take your time to look through them, you will see interplay of a lot of other mediums, from fiber to bronze materials and all forms of junk materials. Like I said, I repurpose materials. So whatever junk material, or machines that will get bad in my space, or junk car parts from my car that are loosed off, I simply just recycle them back into work. So I work with diverse materials, but I always find ways to allow the cutleries to be present because it's my unique touch.